Thompson stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the curb. "Jenkins?" he repeated, the name finally registering. His gaze darted between their faces, cataloging the similarities he'd been too arrogant to notice earlier. The same slight cleft in their chins, identical hazel eyes, the familial set of their jaws. That's not possible," he stammered. "This has to be a conflict of interest." Mark's professional veneer remained intact, though Sarah caught the almost imperceptible twitch at the corner of his mouth, his tailwind suppressing amusement. "Mr. Thompson," Mark continued evenly, "I should inform you that your call was given priority response due to your claim of assault. That's why I'm here personally with multiple units." Thompson's phone was still recording. He fumbled to stop it as Mark continued. "Furthermore, your specific request for the sheriff himself prompted me to review our records on the drive over." He flipped through his notepad. "Interesting pattern. 3 calls in the last month alone, all involving alleged assaults or vandalism against you, all coincidentally involving parking spaces or business disputes." The small audience from the cafe had migrated outside, maintaining a respectful distance, but clearly riveted. The college students had positioned themselves strategically, capturing multiple angles of the unfolding scene. "Those were legitimate complaints," Thompson protested, his voice rising. "This is completely different." "Is it?" Mark asked mildly. "Officer Rodriguez, would you show Mr. Thompson what you found?" The deputy approached with a tablet displaying security camera footage from a high angle. The timestamp showed just 20 minutes earlier, Sarah's Honda pulling into the empty space, followed by Thompson's Escalade speeding around the corner seconds later. "There was no damage to your vehicle, Mr. Thompson," Mark stated flatly. "The security footage shows Ms. Jenkins parking without making contact with any other vehicle, and your subsequent arrival." Thompson's face contorted between expressions, indignation battling with the dawning realization of his predicament. "You can't use that footage. That's invasion of privacy." "Security cameras in public parking lots are standard practice and completely legal," Mark replied, "as I believe you know, since your real estate company installed them at 3 of your properties last year." A bead of sweat trickled down Thompson's temple despite the mild spring morning. His eyes darted around, seeking an escape route from the trap of his own making. "This is a setup," he declared suddenly, pivoting to a new strategy. "You're targeting me because I filed complaints about police response times at the last town council meeting." Sarah watched her brother closely. Most people missed the subtle signs of Mark's anger, the slight tightening around his eyes, the almost imperceptible squaring of his shoulders. She recognized them now as Thompson continued digging himself deeper. "Mr. Thompson," Mark said, his voice dropping to the quiet tone that had terrified Sarah and her siblings growing up, "are you accusing the sheriff's department of orchestrating an elaborate setup involving security cameras, multiple officers, and somehow manipulating you into calling 911 with false claims, all because of a comment at a town council meeting?" The absurdity of the accusation hung in the air. One of the college students snorted, quickly disguising it as a cough. That's not." Thompson's bravado crumbled. "I may have misinterpreted the situation." Mark nodded thoughtfully. "Misinterpretation. Interesting choice of words." He turned to Sarah. "Ms. Jenkins, would you like to press charges for harassment?" The power dynamic had completely reversed. Thompson, who minutes ago had been demanding arrests and throwing around his influence, now looked physically ill. Sarah considered the question carefully. In her mind flashed Thompson's earlier threat about blacklisting her with potential employers, his casual cruelty born of unchecked privilege. 3 weeks after the incident, Sarah sat in her new office at Riverside Financial, arranging family photos on her desk. The corner window provided a perfect view of the shopping center where it had all happened. She could even see Thompson's former real estate office, now sporting a for lease sign in the window. Her desk phone rang. "Sarah Jenkins speaking." "Ms. Jenkins, there's a Diane from Moonbugs here to see you," the receptionist announced. Sarah smiled. "Send her up, please." Minutes later, the coffee shop manager appeared at her door carrying 2 cups, and a small bakery box. I hope I'm not interrupting, Diane said. Not at all. Please sit. Sarah gestured to the chair opposite her desk. Diane set down the coffee. Sarah recognized the distinctive sheriff's sister cup sleeve that had become something of a local legend. I wanted to personally thank you, Diane said, opening the bakery box to reveal blueberry muffins. The board approved our 5-year lease renewal yesterday. That's wonderful news, Sarah replied, genuinely pleased. Without Thompson on the board throwing his weight around, it was practically unanimous. Diane shook her head in amazement. It's like the whole town can breathe again. The changes had been swift and far-reaching. Once Alex, the journalism student, posted the video online, similar stories emerged from across town. The bank that had been about to approve Thompson's latest commercial loan suddenly required additional documentation. The mayor mysteriously couldn't fit Thompson into his schedule. The local business association launched an ethics committee with Thompson as its first case study. How's Miguel doing? Sarah asked, taking a sip of her coffee. He just got accepted to business school, Diane beamed proudly. And he wanted me to tell you that your brother sent officers to do a coffee run at our shop every morning since the incident. Apparently, it's a new department tradition. After Diane left, Sarah opened her email to find a message from her brother. Asterisk subject. Guess who I just pulled over for speeding asterisk. Asterisk GT himself. 47 in a 30 zone. Should have seen his face when he rolled down the window. Gave him the full ticket. No warning. He called me sir about 15 times asterisk. Asterisk family dinner Sunday. Asterisk. Asterisk and asterisk. Sarah chuckled and typed a quick reply, accepting the invitation. As she sent it, her desk phone rang again. Ms. Jenkins, your 2 o'clock is here early. The client from Westside Development. Sarah straightened her blazer and closed her email. Send them in, please. The door opened, and Sarah nearly dropped her coffee. Gerald Thompson stood in the doorway, holding his portfolio and looking considerably less polished than when she'd last seen him. The designer suit had been replaced by something off the rack, his hair less meticulously styled. His eyes widened in recognition, but before he could retreat, Sarah gestured to the chair. Mr. Thompson, please have a seat. He hesitated, clutching his portfolio like a shield. I can reschedule. That won't be necessary. Sarah's voice was professional, controlled. I understand you're interested in refinancing options for your remaining properties. Thompson sank into the chair, his face a mixture of embarrassment and resignation. Yes, my company has experienced some recent challenges. Sarah nodded, opening her computer. Riverside Financial has a program specifically designed for businesses in transition. Let me show you our options. As she outlined the refinancing possibilities, Sarah recognized something she hadn't expected to feel, not satisfaction at his downfall or even vindication. Instead, she felt a calm sense of balance restored, of a community finding its equilibrium after too long under the influence of unchecked power. Why are you helping me? Thompson finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. After what happened? Sarah met his gaze steadily. Because that's my job, Mr. Thompson. To evaluate financial situations objectively and provide appropriate solutions. She allowed herself a small smile. And because my brother always says there's a difference between what's legal and what's right. Outside, the 3 patrol cars created a semicircle of flashing lights. The center vehicle, a black SUV with sheriff emblazoned on the side in bold lettering, stood out from the standard cruisers. Sarah felt her throat tighten. This wasn't just any response. This was a show of force. Sheriff Mark Jenkins methodically wrote in his notepad as Thompson continued his performance. His meticulous note-taking was familiar to Sarah. Mark approached everything in life with the same measured precision, whether investigating a case or assembling furniture from IKEA. I need to know what you plan to do about this, Sheriff, Thompson demanded, his voice carrying through the open cafe door. Will you be arresting her now or taking her in for questioning first? Mark's pen paused mid-stroke. His eyes, the same hazel as Sarah's, flicked up, studying Thompson with the neutral expression he perfected over 15 years in law enforcement. "Mr. Thompson," he said finally, "in matters like these, we follow procedure. Procedure keeps everyone safe and ensures justice is properly served." Thompson seemed pleased with this official-sounding response. "Excellent. I knew I could count on you, Sheriff Jenkins. My father always said your department was the one institution in this town that still worked properly." Mark gave a non-committal nod. "We try to serve all citizens equally." Inside the cafe, Sarah felt her phone vibrate. A text from Mark. "Stay inside. Play along." Her interview was now officially missed. She took a steadying breath and texted back, "Thompson blocked my car. Says he knows you. Threatened my job prospects." Outside, one of the deputies, Officer Rodriguez, who had coached Sarah's softball team years ago, approached Mark and spoke in lowered tones. Mark nodded, then turned back to Thompson. "Mr. Thompson, Officer Rodriguez will take your statement. I'd like to examine your vehicle and the alleged damage." Thompson puffed up with self-importance. "Of course, Sheriff. You'll see the scratch along the driver's side door. It's quite substantial. Foreign paint transfer and everything." Mark circled the gleaming Escalade slowly, crouching occasionally to examine the immaculate paint job. He produced a small digital camera and took several close-up photographs. Through the window, Sarah watched her brother work. His movements were deliberately slow, thorough, creating an impression of gravity that matched Thompson's expectations. She recognized the technique from childhood, Mark drawing out his investigation of who ate the last cookie to make his siblings squirm. The coffee shop had gone eerily quiet, everyone pretending not to watch while stealing glances at the drama unfolding. The college students in the corner had abandoned all pretense, openly filming everything on their phones. "You know," said one student loudly enough for everyone to hear, "my media law professor says recording police interactions is protected under the First Amendment." Her friend nodded. "And uploading to social media is considered journalism in many court precedents." Thompson shot them an irritated glance, but kept his focus on Mark, who had finished his examination and was reviewing the photos on his camera. "Well," Thompson prompted, "you can see it's quite severe, right?" Mark's expression remained neutral. "Mr. Thompson, I'll need to ask Ms. Jenkins to come outside now." Sarah set down her portfolio and straightened her jacket. One of the older patrons, a gray-haired woman who had been watching intently, touched her arm as she passed. "Don't let him bully you, dear," she whispered. "Men like that count on silence." Sarah nodded gratefully and stepped outside into the morning sun, squinting against the glare of police lights. All eyes turned to her, Thompson's triumphant, Mark's professionally distant, the deputies curious. This small-town tableau of power and justice was about to shift in ways none of them expected. "Miss Jenkins," Mark called formally, "would you step over here, please?" Sarah gripped her keys tightly, the metal edges digging into her palm. She'd practiced conflict de-escalation during her customer service days, but this felt different, dangerous even. The man's eyes had that entitled gleam she recognized from every viral Karen video she'd ever watched. "Sir, I didn't see you waiting," she said, keeping her voice level. "I just need to grab a coffee before my interview. I'll be quick." "Interview?" he scoffed, panning his phone camera down to her sensible navy suit and portfolio folder. "Not dressed like that, you won't be." "What are you applying for, janitor?" A few onlookers winced at the comment. Sarah felt her cheeks burn, but maintained her composure. After months of unemployment following her company's downsizing, this interview at Riverside Financial represented her best chance at rebuilding her career. "Listen," Thompson continued, stepping closer until she could smell his expensive cologne. "I'll make this simple. Move your car now, or I'll make sure it gets towed. And trust me, retrieving it from the impound lot will cost you more than whatever minimum wage job you're chasing." Sarah glanced at her watch. 15 minutes until her interview. Even if she gave in to his demands, finding another spot would make her late. A lose-lose situation. "I'm within my rights to park here," she said firmly. "There's no reserved signage, and I'm a paying customer." Thompson's laugh was cold. "Rights? Let me explain something about rights in this town." He lowered his voice, though still recording. "My family has been here for 4 generations. My company sponsors half the town's events. The mayor played golf at my house last weekend. He gestured to the moonbucks. That lease renewal coming up? My signature. The zoning board approving their patio extension. My recommendation. A small crowd had gathered, maintaining a safe distance, but clearly invested in the drama. Most looked uncomfortable. A few had phones out, but nobody intervened. My brother always says there's a difference between what's legal and what's right, Sarah said, taking a step toward the coffee shop. Your brother? Thompson smirked. What is he, a philosopher, or maybe a mall cop? Sarah almost smiled at the irony, but caught herself. Something like that. Thompson's face darkened as he realized she wasn't backing down. He thrust his phone closer. Your license plate is JRK 4735, right? Registered to a Sarah Jenkins at 1542 Maple Drive. Funny how public records work. The fact that he'd memorized her information that quickly sent a chill down Sarah's spine. This wasn't just entitlement, it felt like intimidation. I'm calling the police, he announced loudly, as if addressing the entire parking lot. And then I'm calling my friend at the DMV to check every possible violation on your vehicle. Sarah knew she should feel frightened, but something shifted inside her. The months of unemployment rejection emails, the struggle to make rent, the careful budgeting of every dollar. It had built a resilience she hadn't recognized until now. Go ahead, she said, surprising herself with her steady voice. I have nothing to hide. She turned and walked toward Moonbucks, sensing Thompson following a few paces behind, still narrating into his phone as if he were documenting a major crime scene. As she pulled open the door, she caught her reflection in the glass, shoulders back, chin up, and for the first time in months, she looked like someone who knew her own worth. The interior of Moonbucks offered no sanctuary. Thompson pushed through the door behind Sarah, his voice rising to ensure everyone inside could hear. Yes, I need officers immediately, he continued speaking into his phone. She's now fleeing the scene of the incident. The coffee shop fell silent. The Tuesday morning crowd, remote workers with laptops, retirees with newspapers, students cramming for exams, all looked up from their activities. Sarah felt like she was on stage in a play she never auditioned for. Fleeing the scene, she muttered, taking her place in line. I'm literally just getting coffee. The barista, whose name tag read Miguel, gave her a sympathetic look. At the register, Sarah ordered a simple black coffee, her hands shaking slightly as she handed over her debit card, praying it wouldn't be declined. The interview preparation had drained her modest checking account nearly dry. Add a blueberry muffin too, Miguel said quietly, not charging her for it. Looks like you could use the energy. As she moved to the pickup area, Thompson positioned himself directly beside her, phone still recording. I don't know if you realize what you've done, he said, voice low enough that only she could hear. I've been developing commercial real estate in this town since you were in diapers. One phone call from me, and your name goes on a blacklist that follows you to every potential employer. Sarah's hand tightened around her portfolio. Inside was her carefully crafted resume, reference letters, and the detailed research she'd done on Riverside Financial's recent expansion into sustainable investment portfolios. A talking point that might set her apart from other candidates. Is that a threat? She asked, forcing herself to meet his gaze. It's a fact, Thompson replied. Don't believe me? Ask the last person who crossed me. A former property manager who thought she could report code violations to the city. She's working retail in the next county now. The threat knocked the wind from Sarah's lungs. She looked around at the averted gazes of the other customers, all witnesses, none allies. Your coffee's ready, Miguel called out, sliding her order across the counter with the muffin in a bag. Thompson intercepted it. She can't have this, he announced. She's trespassing. Miguel's professional smile faltered. Sir, I just served her, so she's a paying customer. I own 30% of the commercial property in this shopping center, Thompson snapped, including the master lease on this building. Get your manager. Miguel disappeared into the back, returning moments later with a harried-looking woman in her 40s. What seems to be the problem, Mr. Thompson? She asked, recognizing him immediately. This woman, He jabbed a finger towards Sarah, damaged my vehicle, verbally assaulted me, and is now trespassing. I've already called the police, but I want her removed from the premises immediately. The manager, a Namatag-red Diane, glanced uncertainly between them. I didn't see any incident. Are you calling me a liar? Thompson's face darkened. Need I remind you that your lease renewal comes up before the board next month? Sarah watched the calculation happening behind Diane's eyes, weighing justice against business survival. It was a math problem with only one solution in a small town dominated by men like Thompson. Perhaps it would be best if you took your coffee to go, Diane suggested gently to Sarah. I can't go, Sarah replied, her voice surprisingly steady. My car is blocked in by Mr. Thompson's vehicle. Diane's gaze flicked to the window, confirming the parking situation. Her professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing frustration. Before she could respond, the sound of sirens in the distance cut through the tension. Thompson's face lit up with vindictive satisfaction. Finally, he said, pocketing his phone, justice. Sarah reached for her coffee cup, accidentally knocking it over. The dark liquid spilled across the counter, splashing onto Thompson's immaculate suit sleeve. Did you see that? He shouted to the room at large. She did that deliberately. Assault. That's another charge.